Hello students, standard 6th. In physics we finished the revision of the chapter 10, motion and measurement of distances. Today we are going to start the revision of chapter number 11, that is light, shadows and reflections. Now, when you go outside, like when you go to school or you go to a hill station or at a beach or you are inside your house, if you look around you, then you will be able to see so many things. In the house you will see the furniture, the floor, your cupboards, your computer, television, etc. You go outside, you will see the different vehicles like buses, trucks, or the animals like cow, dog, cat, or you look some buildings, the tall or short houses. Also when you go to a garden, you will be able to see so many flower plants on which there are different colorful flowers are there. If you go to the hill station, you will see the very beautiful scenery there. You can see the sunset point and so many beautiful things. Now the question is that how can you see these objects? Then probably you will give the answer that we can see it with our eyes. So now this answer, I can say it is not completely true. And actually it is not even wrong answer. So here, if you can say that, you say that we can see with the eyes. But what about at night time? If it is a very dark night, there is no moon there, so many clouds there, your electricity is also off, then these all beautiful objects, will you be able to see them? Obviously, we will not be able to see all these beautiful things around. At that time, when it is very, very dark during the night, sometimes it looks like that our eyes closed or open because it doesn't make a difference. And then when you light a candle or switch on a torch, then the light will come through it and then you will be able to see the objects. It means that not only eyes but light is also necessary to look these objects, to see the objects. So light is very, very important in our life. Then the question is that what is the light? It's a type of energy. Light is a form of energy which helps us to see the objects. So without light, if your eyes are open or closed, we don't be able to see the things around us. So in the night times, as we know that when we light a candle or throw some light from the torch, then we will be able to see the objects. Now, there are two types of objects, like luminous objects and non-luminous objects. Now, what are the luminous objects? The objects which produce their own light. They are known as luminous objects. For example, a lighted candle. Then candle will produce its own light, so it is a luminous object. Your torch, bulb. So the bulb is producing its own light. Tube light, the sun, all the stars. And I hope you are familiar with an insect. Generally in this monsoon season, at night time, they are flying in the air. It is known as fireflies. જેને ગુજરાતીમાં ઘણા આગિયો કે ઝબુકીઓ કે જે રાત્રે તમને દેખાય. So that is firefly, it also produces its own light. So these objects which produce their own light are called luminous objects. For example, sun, stars, firefly, candle, bulb, etc. And those objects which do not produce their own light, they are known as non-luminous objects. For example, the table, chair, animals, human beings, wall, etc. Now, luminous objects produce their own light, so we can see them directly. What about non-luminous objects? How can we see them? So the light from the luminous objects fall on the non-luminous objects, and then by reflection, means from that object light is falling back and it enters our eyes. Then we are able to see those non-luminous objects. The moon, planets, they are visible in the sky, but they don't have their own light. Means they are non-luminous objects, but the light of the sun falls on them and they are thrown back, and then it enters our eyes, and therefore we are able to see those objects. So luminous objects, they produce their own light, so we are able to see them. But non-luminous objects, they do not produce their own light, but they throw back the light which is falling from the source of objects, and then it enters our eyes and we are able to see these objects. Now, the objects around us, on the basis of the light passes through them, we can divide them into three different categories, like transparent objects, translucent objects, and opaque objects that you learn in the chapter of grouping. In grouping objects, we learn that we separate them in opaque substance and that all. So now what are these transparent, what are the translucent, and what are opaque substance, opaque objects? So first we learn about the transparent objects. The objects which allows the light to pass through them completely. Means all the light which is falling on them, they allow to pass through them. They are known as transparent objects. And because the light is passing through them, we can see through these objects. For example, the air. Air allows the light to pass through them, and therefore we are able to see through the air. So we are able to see all the things around us. So this air, then very clean water. If you take clean water in a bucket or in any container, and if you put something in the water like a coin, then you will be able to see through. You will see that that coin is at the bottom. Because water, that clean water allows the light to pass through it. So we are able to see through in water. But if the water is dirty, then it is not transparent but clean water. Similarly, glass sheets. We see sometimes that glass door are there, glass walls are, glass partitions are there. Then we can see through them, because that clean glass also allow the light to pass through it. So there's air, clean water, glass. They are some of the plastic also like that, very transparent plastics. Not all type of plastic, but some of them, they are also transparent objects. Then the next is translucent objects. The translucent objects means those objects which allow only a part of light, means not totally it allows the light to pass, but partially, means some part of light will pass through it, not the whole thing. And therefore, we cannot see, we can see through them but not clearly. We cannot see clearly, we can see them through them but not very clearly. Those are translucent objects. For example, if you throw some dust in the water, then water will be little dirty. So you will be able to see through them but not clearly, because then the water becomes translucent. Similarly, the very thin paper there, also the tracing paper used in the drawing to copy that designs, or the butter paper we use in the kitchen for the foods, and the other thing like oily paper. If you put some drops of the oil and rub it out, then that part of the paper will be translucent. You will be able to see through, but not clearly. So these are known as translucent objects. And the last is the opaque substance, opaque objects. Opaque objects means those objects which do not allow the light to pass through them. Not at all, not even partially. They don't allow the light to pass through them. And therefore, we won't be able to see through them. For example, this book, I cannot see through the book. The wood or your wall. These objects are such that we cannot see through them because they don't allow the light to pass through them. And therefore, they are known as opaque substances. So, we understand about the light. What is light actually? It is a form of energy which helps us to see the objects. Then the objects which produce their own light, they are known as source of light, like the sun, stars, and they are also known as luminous objects because they produce their own light, and non-luminous objects which do not produce their own light. And when the light from the luminous objects fall on them and it coming towards our eye, then we can see that non-luminous objects. And then we learn about the transparent, translucent and opaque substances. In the next session we will learn about how the shadows are created and more interesting thing about the shadows. We are going to finish today's session and there will be question answer in the PDF file, and if any problem, confusion, write down in the comment section. Thank you very much.